this evening, don't you think? Everything is looking quite wonderful. Hello everybody, my name is Taylor and on camera with me today is Jahawi. And of course it's Halloween and we've got some very special guests joining us today. And I'd just like to welcome, of course, all the children from Jefferson's Elementary. It's great to have you. We have got a school drive for the first 45 minutes. So send through your questions. I look forward to answering some of them. I don't know, it moves when I talk. And for the rest of the viewers, we're going to be picking up with you a little bit later. So keep sending those questions through #SafariLive and you can chat to us on the YouTube chat too. Now, I've decided to become a lion today with my very mane-like hair, my mane. I cannot take any credit at all for this, for the mask. This was made by Elka, who is our camp manager and also Jahawi's wife, in case you were wondering. And she made this for Martin. And because we like to recycle, because recycling is very good, I decided to use it. It was for his birthday. This is what you have to wear when it's your birthday, and this is what has been made. I've now also taken it for Halloween. We're going to keep driving. I don't know how many stares I'm going to get today from all the lovely people that are out on safari as well. Anyways, so I'd love to hear from all of you. If you have any questions about going on safari or about animals, I believe you are studying how animals adapt, which is very exciting. We haven't got any animals that are adapting at the moment, but as soon as I find some, I promise I will show you. But for now, we're going to try and navigate through the wind. I don't even know where I'm going this morning. Not this morning, it's this afternoon. My goodness, it's been a long day. I think I'm going to head to the dangerous Mara River. Okay, but it's not just me out here taking you on safari in a strange outfit. There's my friend Tristan, and he's dressed up as the tallest creature of them all.
Good afternoon, and welcome to the southernmost tip of Africa. Here in South Africa, you can see there's a beautiful, beautiful bird to start us off on this Halloween theme drive. Now, it's a special warm welcome to Jefferson Elementary. I hope that you kids are having a wonderful, wonderful day and that you continue to have a good day as we carry on with this drive. Now, my name is Tristan, as Taylor mentioned, and on camera today I've got Senzo, who's back from leave, and I'm sure he's looking forward to the next few days back out in the bush. Now, remember kids, it is an interactive experience, so you can send your questions through to your teacher, and your teacher will then send them to us, and we'll try and answer as many as possible. For the rest of the viewers that have joined us this afternoon, remember you can send your questions through to #SafariLive or YouTube chat a little bit later after we're done with the school drive, and we'll get to them later in the day. Right, now you can see I'm dressed in a ridiculous little costume, and that is because it is Halloween. So I have my friend Pooji, the speaker, with his little Dracula outfit and his little bloody teeth, and I've gone for the more cute Halloween costume. Oh, whoopsie, Pooji's just fallen, so let's put Pooji down. And I've gone for the more cute Halloween costume, which is a giraffe. Now, what I want to try and do eventually is find a giraffe somewhere so that we can go and mingle with the giraffe and see if the giraffe look at me funny, or like Taylor says with her guests, I think the giraffe are going to think I'm very funny too. So I'm going to try and find them and see what we can find. And I believe also that you are focusing on adaptations of animals, and so we're going to look for all kinds of little things, and giraffe, funny enough, are one of the animals that have lots and lots and lots of different adaptations. So we're going to try and find them so that we can discuss all of those things in this afternoon's journey through the wilderness. So Jefferson Elementary, you're wondering where we're located. Well, Jefferson Elementary, we are right on the southern tip of the African continent in South Africa. It's the southernmost country within Africa, and we are in the northeastern corner of South Africa. So we're right up against the Mozambique boundary in one of the biggest wilderness parks in Africa. So we're in the greater Kruger National Park, and it is one of the most wonderful places to spend time. It is really a very, very pretty area. It's a lot different to where Taylor is in East Africa. She's in the big open plains of that area, and we're down here in the savanna type thickets, and so we get slightly different animals to what they get up there, but it is still beautiful and still really rich in density with all kinds of life, from trees to grasses to birds and insects, and of course all the mammals as well. So it's a beautiful part of the world to be in, and it's of course, I come from this country, so I'm a bit biased, but I really love South Africa. We have such beautiful weather. You can see not a cloud in the sky. It's sunny, it's warm. In fact, my giraffe costume is a little bit warm, but at least I get to feel what it's like to be a giraffe, because it definitely feels a little on the hotter side than when I don't have this costume on. Now, there is Taylor, who's dressed as a ferocious lion. I'm dressed as a cute little giraffe, and well, we have one other team member that is out at the moment, and he is dressed in probably the most sinister of outfits. So let's jump across and go and say hello to Scott.
And welcome on board. My name's Scott, and I'm wearing a fancy skull on my face today. I feel quite dangerous. Good to have you on board, everyone, and I'm sure you've all really enjoyed Tristan's outfit and Taylor's outfit. They both look very, very fancy. I didn't actually know it was Halloween until 20 minutes before the drive, so I just managed to strap this thing onto my head. And let's see, I mean, it's a bit tricky to drive with, but it's doable. So let's go. Let's go look for some aminals. So for those of you who are not with us on the Sunrise Safari, it wasn't the busiest morning predator-wise, although Taylor did have some lioness that were keeping an eye on some warthogs, but they didn't actually go for them. And it might be worth swinging back by there a little bit later. I'm not sure if Taylor intends on doing that, but what I think I'm going to do is work a new area that we didn't really spend a lot of time in. Well, where we didn't spend any time this morning, because hopefully there's something there, because where we did spend time, we didn't really see anything. So I might hug the escarpment, see what happens along there. Hello, Jake, and it's great to have you with us and the rest of your schoolmates. What a good, fun lesson this must be. Here's the car running forward. Are we good? No, we're good. So I look forward to answering your question about what exactly is a savanna. Well, what we're looking at now is a great example of an open savanna. You get different kinds of savanna. You get woodland savanna, which is a mixture of trees and open grassland, but a savanna is typically just an open, very large plain like we can see here, with not too many bushes, not too many trees. It's almost basically the opposite to a forest or a jungle. And this is a beautiful, beautiful example of a large open savanna. Thanks for your question. One animal, Jake, that loves to live in this open savannas are zebras, which we have quite a few of here. So we're just going to show you a quick view of them before we race you off to Tristan, who may have found one of his own kind.
Well, that's nice to see some zebras. Hopefully we will find some giraffe, because giraffe like to hang around where zebras are, and so maybe if Scott found zebras, our luck will be in and we'll find our giraffe too. Now I'm slowly moving along some of the roads that run near what we call drainage lines. Now drainage lines are areas that are very thick bush, and so that means lots and lots of trees and lots of shade. And the reason why I'm driving here is two reasons. One is that it is much, much cooler because of all the trees and the shade, and the second reason is drainage lines are generally areas that have lots of water, and when it's warm like this, a lot of the animals are going to make their way to water, because even though they are adapted to survive in hot weather, they do need water in order to keep hydrated. Now, one animal, talking about water, that doesn't need water and is really well adapted to the African heat is the tiniest and smallest of our antelope. So you saw the largest antelope, the eland. Now this is the smallest that we get here. This is called a steenbok. Now a steenbok is an Afrikaans name, and it means a rock buck. That's basically what it means. And so steen is a rock and a bok is a buck, and they get that name because when they lie down, they look just like a little stone. So they'll kind of lie down and they'll just tuck themselves in, and they'll then be able to hide out and camouflage or hide from predators incredibly well. But I was saying that this animal is one animal that is able to deal with the heat better than a lot of others, and the reason why is because this guy is very, very clever. What he'll do is he'll eat a lot of fresher vegetation that will get him a lot of water, and so that he can survive on that. And secondly, he knows that in the early mornings there is sometimes what we call dew, and dew is water that has fallen and landed on the grass and the leaves, and this little one will drink from there. So it doesn't actually have to find a water hole or a river or anything like that. It's able to get water just from the grass and the leaves around the area. Evan, the animals, I mean, some are more predictable than others. So we find that there are territorial animals like leopard and lions that are a little bit predictable in some of the movements that they do. So they might go to a favorite waterhole or a favorite area to hunt, but most of the animals out here are fairly unpredictable. They actually just move wherever there might be food or water or nutrients. Now, Senzo, if you can come to my dashboard quickly, on my hand here is something very cool. It's a little spider. So if you see on my hand there, it's called a jumping spider, or a Salticidae is its name. And jumping spiders are super cool. They've got one of the most amazing adaptations to their legs. They don't have legs like most other insects. They have legs that they're able to push and jump very, very far. And so they are basically have like a hydraulic system. So what they do is they compress their veins effectively. It's not really veins, but it's something similar to that, and they push fluid into that, and it acts like a force, and as they release the fluid, it then springs the legs up and they then jump. Now I'm hoping that this little guy will jump at some point, because when they jump it's quite amazing. Also, hopefully he won't bite me and inject me with any venom. It seems as though he's going to go off my hand and move away a little bit, so hopefully he'll go down. No, off, you can't go. There we go. Did you see him jump to my finger? How cool is that? So let's see if he'll do it again. I'm going to try. It's quite difficult for Senzo because he is very, very, very fast, but there we go. You see him jumping? He's jumped now to this finger. Let's see if he'll jump to the next one. Let's see. Hopefully he will. It's so cool when they jump like this. And like I say, all they're doing is forcing liquid into the legs. Did you see him jump? Isn't that amazing? So cool. So little spiders like this are some of my favorites. Now this is a little tiny one. They do get much bigger than this. The jumping spider can get quite large. You see him jumping all over the place. Now don't jump on my face, because I don't want you on my face. I suppose it goes with our Halloween theme, because spiders are associated with Halloween and is the perfect little creature to spend Halloween with. Right, now I've got to try and work out where I'm going to put him, because like I say, I don't want him jumping on my nose. It's not going to be very pleasant to have a spider on the nose, so I'm going to try and see if he might just jump off somewhere else. No, he's decided my hand is where he wants to be. So Ashwin, you want me to talk about the steenbok's ears. Now, our steenbok has disappeared. It's gone into the little thicket over here. But steenbok have very big ears in comparison to their head. So that means that their ears are quite large. If we had to look at something like the eland or any of the other antelope species, their ears, a lot of them are quite small. The reason why the steenbok needs very big ears is because it's very small and low to the ground. And so the grass grows quite long in the summer. We're at the end of our winter now, going into our summer. And so the grass hasn't grown yet. Once the grass grows, you'll find that those ears need to be there to listen for predators, because at the end of the day they can't see them through the grass, so they have to have big ears to listen, so their hearing is very, very good. Now I don't know where the spider's gone. No, there it is. I don't want him to bite me, so I'm going to try and just get him off. There we go. He's now dropped off into the grass, and so all is good. There goes our little steenbok. You can see it just moving off and away. And so we were talking about its ears, and you'll see that it's got very large ears. If it puts its head up, it's still busy feeding at the moment, but you see the ears are very big compared to its head. Very, very large. And you'll also notice I called it a male. Now, male steenbok, you'll see on top of his head, he's got two little horns. Now, those horns will grow from when he's a little baby, and once he becomes a big male, like this one, this is a fully grown male, he's not a baby, he's got those sharp little pointy horns, and he'll use those to fight with other males for a female. And once he finds a mommy steenbok, then he'll stay with that mommy steenbok for the rest of his life. He will not change. He'll keep married to her, basically, like our moms and dads do. Right, I think we're going to carry on and try and find some more things to look at, some more wonderful little creatures that we have out here. And now I believe Taylor, who's dressed like a lion, has found one of the largest animals that we see out here in Africa, and this animal might be a little bit scared of Taylor, and I hope that it doesn't give Taylor any trouble.
It's a bit strange because I'm dressed like a male lion because I have a mane, but I'm a girl. But that's okay. I suppose some things aren't make sense. But look what we found. We found the biggest land mammal, and it's my favorite animal in the whole wide world, and it is a beautiful big elephant. And he is all on his own, which is not unusual actually, although I'm sure you're probably thinking, but hey, I've seen elephants in groups before. They live in families, but the females do with their little ones, and the daughters will stay in that herd for the rest of their lives. But the bulls, the boys, they get pushed out when they get too old and they become a bit too naughty, and they want to fight all the time with the females and the other elephants, the other young elephants. So they get chased out by all the moms in that herd. They say, get out of town, and then they have to go off. But this guy is fine. He's used to living on his own now. He's quite a big boy too. He's probably about very awkward to try and present with this mask on. And to try and get it to stay, and then when I talk it slips further down and it tries to choke me a little bit too. So I'm just going to hold it like this, hold my mane in place. So he's a lovely fella. He's beautiful, he's big, and he's in the prime of his life at the moment. So that means he's probably not going to get too much bigger than this, but he's going to be eating lots and lots of food, and that's exactly what he's doing at the moment. So, seeing as though you're talking about animals and how they adapt, obviously there are elephants in South Africa too, and we have elephants up here in Kenya, and hopefully Tristan can show you an elephant in South Africa. Not that they look much different. But, sorry Kirst, if you asked me a question, I didn't get any of that. I just got Spencer. That was it. So, basically, the elephants eat a lot of grass, and is the favorite part of an elephant's diet is actually just eating grass. And we have a question from Spencer. I'll get back to my question now, and that is, what is the purpose of the tusks? Well, they're teeth, but not teeth like we would traditionally use. So not to grind up food. They've got molars to do that, but those have become tools. They become digging tools now, but not just digging tools. They typically will stick them into the mud and loosen the mud quite a bit. They also, of course, can dig for roots under the ground. They help loosen soil to dig for water in the riverbeds. And then the males will use them to fight, and the females will also use them for protection. But it's just amazing to think that that is actually a tooth. So what I was going to say about their diet is that in Kenya, and it's specifically in the Mara, the elephants, I think, could have it easy. They get to eat grass all day long, and there's so much of it. And as I was saying, they love grass. Now, in South Africa, elephants love grass too, but there's not always grass around. So they've got to change their diet slightly. So an elephant in the Kruger National Park, which is the big wilderness area that Tristan's driving around in, they have to change their diet just slightly for the winter months when there's not much food around. They've got to, well, like I was saying, dig for water because there's not a lot of rain, and then they have to also dig for roots, and they uproot trees, so they're strong enough to pull a tree over. Can you believe that? And they will use their tusks to do so, and they also like to strip the bark from the tree. So sometimes they ring bark. They'll actually kill an entire tree, but that's okay. Now, don't do it too often. It's normally just seasonal when there's nothing else to eat, and they'll basically cut into the bark with their tusks. There's some really amazing trees in South Africa that have got some great scoring on them. But he's a beautiful boy, and he's going to eat lots too. He's going to eat so much grass every single day. He needs to eat 5% of his body weight. Can you believe that? Can you imagine if you had to eat 5% of your body weight every single day? Now, Aria, lovely question from you. You're wondering why they use their trunks to eat. Well, it's basically like an arm. That's what it is. And when we eat, we don't put our heads down and start chewing away or licking the plate, much like a lion would do. They have to use we'll use a knife and fork, but we use our hands to do that. And that's exactly what the trunk is for an elephant. It's using it as an arm, and you can watch it. Watch as it sticks its trunk down into the grass. See how it curls it around the tufts and pulls it up. So those little tips on the trunks, they're prehensile, so they can move around, and it's very easy to put it in its mouth. Well, this big elephant makes it look easy. When you see little elephants, you can see how many muscles are actually in that trunk because they can't use them very well. And just like when you're learning to walk, you have to train the muscles, you have to strengthen the muscles in your legs, and an elephant will have to do the same thing with its trunk, so they can't use them very well when they're small, and that's why they're so comical, they're so funny to watch. Isn't this amazing though? I wish you were all right here with me in the car, so you could be feeling the wind through your hair, the smells, and hearing all the different sounds. Well, at least you can hear the sounds, of course. Of course I can, Ella. Ella, you're wondering if I could talk about the ears of the elephant. That's one of the most important parts of the body. And the reason why is because basically, if you look at an elephant like a car, the ears are the radiator. So that's what helps keep an elephant cool. And within those ears are lots and lots and lots of little blood vessels. And if you can cool the bloodstream down, you can cool your body down very quickly. So that's why elephants will sometimes flap their ears, and the skin is very, very thin there too. So that blood is cooled naturally just by the movement of air, and then it is filtered right through the entire body. So that's one way that they'll keep nice and cool. And also, they're very, very good at hearing all through those ears. But they don't just use their ears to hear, they actually use their feet to feel vibrations that are sent through the ground. So elephants do communicate to one another, they do talk to one another in a way that which we can hear them. We can't understand them though. But they also are able to get those low frequencies, sort of the way that a whale will communicate through infrasounds, and that's what they'll do too. Look at all those clouds. That's a beautiful view. I wonder if there's going to be some rain coming in the next day. Now, Sophia, you're wondering why they have thick feet, I think is the question. I'm just struggling to get the messages through. Why? So they've got to have big round feet because they're quite a large animal. So a round foot is a nice big surface area. It makes it easier for walking. Their front feet are much bigger than their back feet because all their weight is in their shoulders. See, there's big shoulders, big muscle, big head. It's got to be able to carry all 5 tons of this elephant, because that's how much he could weigh. Maybe, yeah, he would weigh about 5 tons. He's pretty big. And in those feet, I was telling you how they can hear through their feet. There's a spongy sort of tissue filled with all these nerves that will pick up those vibrations. And then, of course, they've got toenails as well. It's a funny looking thing. Maybe we'll have to ask Tristan to help us because we aren't able to get out the cars. But maybe he can show you an elephant track. Or better yet, if he does find an elephant, because the grass is so short at the moment, because we've just come out of the dry season, he might even be able to actually show you the foot. And hopefully an elephant will be kind enough to rest one and show you the really, really cool 4x4 tread that they have underneath the soles of their feet. These animals can climb all different types of terrain. So they can go up steep slopes in muddy conditions. They can climb around on rocks. They can go down steep slopes. It's pretty amazing that such a large animal has probably got better 4x4ing skills than what I do in this car that's specially designed to drive around on wet terrain, or we've got special tires to do that, but to navigate through difficult areas. And the elephant is just born like that. But I've got a surprise for you, and I really want to try and get there, but it's going to take me a bit of time to get that side. I can't. I'm so sorry, Kirst. I can't hear your questions. I'm only getting every second word. We're going to head towards a surprise. I'm going to try and not... Can't see today because my hair is in my face. Normally it's in a big ponytail under a hat, and I've got lots of it. I just got this. So this is what Kirst sounds like. She's directing the show. She just sounds like this elephant's tail. I'm so sorry, Kirst. Something is very wrong in this car with the comments. But sometimes that happens. We are all the way out in the middle of Kenya. No, Kirst, I missed the first form. I think the question is from Dale, and I think it's something about an elephant's tail. I'm going to go and guess and say, does it have a purpose? But I don't know because I just got bits and pieces. I'm very sorry about that. So So an elephant's tail is very, very important. Any tail of any animal is important because they use them to swat flies. Now, I always feel sorry for animals that have lost their tails and aren't able to swat the biting flies away. But also, sometimes on an animal's tail, they've got follow me signs. And well, that dark tuft of hair is a nice way for that little elephant to also wander through the grass and just watch Mom as she moves about. Warthogs do. Warthogs put their tails in the air and they say, hello little piglets, follow me, follow me. Or just the other members of the family. Lions have also got it. I can't show you my tail though because it's tucked into my pants today. Couldn't let the tail come out. But that's got a black tuft of hair on the top of it too. Something like a waterbuck, which is really cool. You get two species of waterbuck, but the waterbuck that Tristan sees, the common waterbuck versus the Custer's waterbuck, which occurs in this area, the one that occurs here doesn't have a white ring on its bottom. It's just got a big white patch, which would be quite cool. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and find a waterbuck, and we can have a look at it here, and then we'll have to ask Tristan. Tristan's got a lot. I'm asking Tristan to do lots today, and then we'll see if he can find a waterbuck as well, and we can compare the two and see two different species. We can do the same thing with giraffe as well, because there's a different type of giraffe that occurs here. We have the Maasai giraffe, whereas in South Africa, the one that Tristan is dressed up as, he is a southern giraffe, which is a little bit shorter than the very tall Maasai species here, which is the tallest of all of them. I got that this time. Thank you, Chris. But we're going to keep driving because I have got a surprise for you, and hopefully those animals are still around. Tristan has not got an animal just yet. It's still developing into one.
Well, we've got something that's going to be an animal because there is a very large, very big white egg. Now that egg, I think, belongs to one of the Egyptian geese that we see here, but I'm very surprised because the egg is all out in the open and the adults are not making a fuss. They're not trying to chase us or anything like that, and Egyptian geese normally only will nest in trees, so they shouldn't be nesting on the ground. So I think this egg unfortunately must have fallen somewhere or somehow has ended up here. I don't know how. It's still got something inside of it. It still looks as though it's perfectly whole. It's not broken in any way, so I don't know what would have caused that egg to be in that place. But the problem is that poor egg, I probably don't think the animal will survive or the bird will hatch. The reason why is because in the sun like that, that poor egg is going to cook. It's not going to last because it's going to get too hot. It needs the shade of its mother or its father to be able to stop it from getting too hot. And also, you're going to see a lot of predators that are going to find this. So there will be things like birds, lizards, snakes. We have a certain type of snake that eats eggs. We have all kinds of things that are out here that will definitely eat that. Even lion and leopards would try and eat an egg like that. So it's very strange that the egg is out on its own. Now, Jake, you want to know what an Egyptian goose is. So right in the distance is an Egyptian goose. There are two of them. So they are a type of bird that we get here. They're not actually a true goose. They're a part of the duck family, but we call them Egyptian geese, and they've got these kind of browny colors and then a little bit of green in them as well. And we find them everywhere. They're all over. At any of the water holes that we go to this afternoon, there will be an Egyptian goose there, and they will be making lots of noise generally. This morning they were making a lot of noise when I came past. Oh, I think maybe it was yesterday afternoon, one of the two. They were making lots and lots of noise, and the male and the female have a different call, which is quite interesting because most birds, you don't see that. Most birds have the same call for male and female, but these guys, the male will honk and the female hisses, and so they can talk to each other, and you can actually ID and tell which is mom and which is dad just by listening to the way that they squeak, or squawk, should I say. So that's them. Now, I wonder if it's their egg. I'm not 100% sure. Like I say, they normally nest in the trees, and there's no big trees here, so I don't know where this nest would have come from, but that egg is big. The egg is probably about the size of my palm, so it's quite a large egg, and it's going to be interesting to know where that comes from. Now, behind me, I've got some antelope making some noise, so I want to go and have a little quick look at what happened there and see why these impalas are shouting, because sometimes impalas, if they see a predator, they'll shout. So we're going to go and have a little quick look there and see exactly what is happening. Deanna, you're asking, could we tell how far along the egg was? Well, no, Deanna, and the reason why, we could if we went there and we took a torch and we shone it, or we put it up against the sun, we'd be able to probably see how developed the little chick is inside of there. But in nature, we try not to disturb anything, so we're trying not to kind of touch any of the eggs. Maybe the mom will come back and she'll find her little one and maybe sit on the egg again, and we'll have a situation where everything will be okay. But until then, I don't want to touch it, because maybe I disturb it and then the parent never comes back and that egg then gets damaged or something like that, so we leave it alone. Now there's another animal that's sitting just over there that is busy sitting in the shade, and that is one of my favorite non-predators that we get out of here. They're not the prettiest animal, but it is a warthog. So there's a little warthog that is sitting kind of facing us, and that warthog would have been having a really great time, because where it is, there's a little bit of water that runs through there, and it's the perfect place for it to have a really good mud bath. Warthogs love mud. They'll go into mud and they'll roll around and they'll cover themselves in mud, and the reason why they do that is because it cools them down. It's like when you're very hot and you go and swim in your swimming pool. It's the same thing for the warthog, but the extra added benefit of having mud on you is that it keeps away the parasites and stops any of the flies or insects like ticks being able to get on you and feed off your blood. So it's a good thing to do, and they always will be wallowing, and then you'll find once they finish wallowing and the mud dries, they'll find a tree and then they'll rub up on the tree and scratch themselves and scratch on their backs and their bums, just to make sure that they get rid of any of those ticks that might have been in the mud itself or already on the body before they had a mud bath, and that pulls them off and they can then stay nice and clean. Now, I was saying just now that the impalas, which is a type of antelope very similar to a deer, they unfortunately have moved away now, but they were shouting, and I'm sure they were shouting because of the warthog. So they just saw a shadow in the distance and they thought maybe it could be a leopard, and so that's why they were making an alarm call, so that they can tell everybody, I've seen something, I've seen some danger. And in the end, once they saw it was a warthog, everybody calmed down and relaxed. They unfortunately disappeared that way. Right, our warthog is also moving off, so we're going to carry on as well. There's not much else at the dam. I thought we might get a bit more water in this area. Marky, you're wondering what the smallest land animal, I suppose you mean that we see here in this area? Well, the smallest land animal that we see here is probably an elephant shrew. Now, elephant shrews look like little mice with a little long nose, and that's where they get their elephant name from, and they're about this big. So they're tiny, 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 tiny little things, and they run around here mostly at night. So you don't see them much during the day, but they come out at night and they move around. And the reason why they have to be very careful and very shy is because they're so small, a number of things will eat them. So we have a lot of owls here, we have a lot of eagles and hawks, and so a little mouse like that is a perfect snack for any of them. And so the little elephant shrew just tries to hide in the grass, and then it will quickly run across the road, and so we really don't see them very much at all. We struggle to find them because our eyes are not as good as some of the birds' eyes that can see deep into the grass and watch those little elephant shrews and then find them. We also find snakes will hunt those elephant shrews quite a lot. There's a snake here called a puff adder. Now, puff adders are very similar to a rattlesnake. They've got the same kind of big, stocky, wide sort of structure and a big head and lots of very, very, very strong venom. And they'll wait and they sit right on a path, and they have the perfect camouflage, so they are able to blend in. You can't even see them. And then as the little mouse or shrew comes past, then they grab it and they eat it. So we have those that will also feed on them. So the elephant shrews are a little bit shy. We don't see them much at all. I was hoping to find some giraffe at the water because I saw a footprint way back when, and I thought maybe they were going to come to this waterhole, but it seems as though they haven't come here. So they might be at another waterhole that's not far away, where there's at least a bit more water and some nice shady trees. So we're going to go and check over there for my giraffe, because I want to go and say hello to all the giraffe that are out here. Warthogs do have predators, a lot of predators, unfortunately. It's one of those animals that the predators really like. So you'll find things like big pythons will go after the baby warthogs, birds of prey like the martial eagle or the crowned eagle. Then you'll find leopard, wild dog, cheetah, lions, hyenas, even something like a caracal will go after them as well. Now, caracal is a type of cat that we get out here. It's a very beautiful cat. It's like a red coloration, much like what we saw on that steenbok, the same coloration that we saw on the steenbok, and it's got very pointy ears. So much like my little giraffe ears, it's got these little pointy ears that push off. Oh, there's a little duiker. So this is another small antelope that we get here. This is not steenbok, so it's not the same animal. This is called a grey duiker. Now, a duiker is an Afrikaans word for a diver, and it basically was named this because of the way this animal is very, very shy. It likes to run and dive into thick bush so it can hide away. And look how good its camouflage is. Once it gets behind the trees, it's very difficult for it to be able to be seen, and so it can hide, and then the predators move away and leave it alone. So very common to see. And this is the second smallest antelope that we see here in the Sabi Sands. So you do get smaller antelopes in this in other parts of the world, but this particular one is the second smallest here in this area. And it's again is another male. You see he's also got sharp pointy horns, and he's going slowly but surely into the thickets and shade. So I think we're going to leave him there and let him carry on. That was a nice surprise. So you see, you never know on safari what's going to come out. Around any corner can be a animal, and so you have to always keep your eyes out and keep looking and making sure you're watching for all kinds of little things. Now I'm going to carry on towards my water hole to see if I can find my giraffe, but Taylor, she's found something that also absolutely loves to be around water, and it's a very special antelope.
Oh my goodness, hello everybody, sorry about that. So, I'm just trying to clean my monitor because I just realized that I cannot see anything. Ah, that's what we're looking at. We're looking at some Thomson's gazelle, some waterbuck, and some giraffe. How great is that? Now, the only thing we don't get in South Africa is the Thomson's gazelle, but they are pretty small. They remind me a little bit of springbuck, the way that they look with the same. They've got a very similar coloration. You get some springbuck in some parts of South Africa. That's actually South Africa's national mammal. And then we said we were going to look at the differences between the waterbuck. So Tristan, I'm holding up my end of the bargain. I hope that you are doing the same thing for all the children. So there you go. You can see it's just a white patch on their bottom, and hopefully one will turn around completely. Actually, there is one on the left, on the far left of that group, that is exposing her buttocks a little bit better. There we go. That one. So the waterbuck in South Africa.
Unfortunately, Taylor has what we call a gremlin. Now, a gremlin is this little animal that attacks our signal and gets into the system so that we can't show you all the beautiful things. So unfortunately, Taylor's little gremlins have taken over. Now, I know Taylor wants me to find all kinds of things. She's asking me for elephant tracks and waterbuck, and so I'm going to try and find all of those things. Maybe at the next waterhole, I'll be lucky with a waterbuck. Maybe we find one lurking somewhere there. They do like this other waterhole that we are going towards. I saw a waterbuck there this morning, so maybe we'll get lucky, because our waterbuck here are slightly different to the ones that Taylor has all the way on the other side of Africa, and so hopefully we will see them. Ours have got a beautiful big white ring on their bottom, and they really look quite funny with it. It looks like they've sat on some sort of ring of paint, and this little white marking has been left behind. Now, of course, it's not that they've done that, and it's not a silly thing for other animals to see them, but it is so that they can see each other. Now, those markings on the back end of any animal, each animal will have that adaptation, that they will have a type of marking that we call a follow me signal. Now, a follow me signal in waterbuck is the big white circle. In something like a lion, it will be the black tip to the tail, and then in something like a leopard, it will be a white tip to the tail. Now, you would think, why would a leopard have a white tip and a lion have a black tip? Well, there is a very simple reason for it. Is because lions like to spend more time in the grassland and in the areas where there's lots of grass, and that black tip is much easier to see against light colored grass than a white tip. And leopard, on the other hand, oh no, I've lost my head, oh whoopsie, we better put that back on, we don't want our eyes to fall off. There we go, that's better. Now, a leopard spends more time in the shade and in the thickets, and so a white tail stands out better in those areas. Now there's another antelope we're seeing now, and this is the biggest antelope that we see. So the eland, which Scott showed you, is the biggest antelope that they get in the Masai Mara, and the biggest antelope even here in South Africa, but we don't get them where we are now. This area is not a good habitat for eland, and so this is our biggest antelope that we're seeing, and that is called a kudu. So it's Kudu, kudu, and its name comes from when it runs, because it's very heavy. When it runs, its hoofs make that sound, kudu, 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 as it runs, and that's where it got its name from. But you will notice with the kudu, and I was saying earlier that the steenbok has very, very big ears because it's very small, but you see that this antelope is much, much bigger, but it also has very big ears. Now the reason for that is because this antelope likes to spend time in very thick areas, so it likes to sit where there's lots and lots and lots of trees and lots of vegetation, and that means that they can't see when there's lots of trees. It's very difficult to see past the trees. There might be a leopard lurking or something like that, and so very big ears allow them to hear if there's a leopard in those thickets and make sure that they stay very safe. But they are a beautiful animal. You'll see that they've got really nice big long legs, and those legs are very powerful. These guys can jump really well. They're like a very good horse in that they can jump a very big distance, and you'll find that from them without running they'll be able to clear 2 meters, so that's basically over 7 foot that they can jump without even having to run and take a run up to jump, which is quite amazing. So all of you want to know, why is it that all of these animals can be so near each other and nothing happens? Well, it's very easy. It's because we have an area that is rich in nutrients. The soil is very good quality. There is also a lot of plant and growth of trees and grasses, and so there's a lot of food. And that means that all of the animals can come to this area to feed off all of these trees and grasses. And because the animals that we've seen so far this afternoon are all animals that eat grasses and trees and are herbivores, they don't have to worry about each other, because there's so much grass, there's so much leaves, there's lots of space that they don't have to be confrontational or don't have to chase one another, because there is more than enough food for everybody. But if a predator comes along, then it's a very different thing. Everybody will run away from that predator because they don't want to be eaten, and they don't want a situation where they're going to get hurt. Also, when you have times when it's a drought, so a drought is when we don't get a lot of rainfall, then we get a situation where a lot of the food disappears and it becomes very difficult for these animals, and then you'll find that the animals will chase each other a little bit more. But now there's so much food, there's lots of trees, lots of grass, and so they can all sit together because they have enough to satisfy everybody, and so everybody can find a way to survive. Now you can see with these kudu that there's one that's got a little bit of a growth coming off of his head, or 2 horns, and then you'll find that the female on the left doesn't have that, so she's got no horns, and that's because the males need the horns to fight. The females don't have horns because they don't fight with one another, so they don't need that, and they won't need it to defend themselves, because it's much easier for them to run away than it is to try and fight with one of the cats or one of the predators that we have out here. Now I wonder if all of you know what the difference is between horns and antlers. So maybe you can tell your teacher what you think the difference is between a horn and an antler. So I'll give you an idea that here in South Africa, all of our antelope have horns. Where you are in America, all of your antelope have antlers. So I want to know, what is the difference between antlers and horns? Let's see if anybody's got an answer for me. We'll get back to it a little bit later, so I'll give you some time to decide what you think. Right, let's go down towards the water and see if maybe there's some of those waterbuck we were talking about as well. So all of you want to know, we've seen so many antelope and all the nice animals that don't eat other animals. Where are all the predators? Well, there's a predator right there. So it's not a big predator that we know, but sitting on the back of the kudu is a very small predator, and it is called a red-billed oxpecker. Now that oxpecker is a predator that is able to eat ticks, and it is also known as seguinivore, which means that it feeds off blood. So it's a perfect bird for Halloween because it is able to eat the blood from an open wound of an animal. But mostly they are very good for the animals because they clean the animals of all the ticks and parasites. But the big predators, so things like leopard, lions, it's still very hot in the afternoon, so most of them are going to be sleeping in some shade somewhere, and we've only just started getting on our safari this afternoon, and so we haven't quite found them yet, but they could be anywhere here. They might be all around. This is a great place, particularly for leopard where we are now. We're going to try and find a leopard somewhere around here. We've seen lots of leopards in the last few days in this area, and so maybe we'll get lucky with a leopard before we finish this afternoon's drive. I'm going to try because we're going to head just down to the water, and maybe, just maybe, we'll get lucky. Sorry, my girl. So she's a bit nervous because she saw something walking down there, and so did I. So I'm intrigued to know what it was, or I want to go and investigate quickly what was walking there. Something was walking at the end of the road. I don't know what it is. It might be an antelope, it might be a predator, who knows. But let's go and find out very quickly because we don't have that much time left, unfortunately. Owen, you say, are antlers straighter? So Owen, no, that's not the answer to the question, but very good answer anyway, and good try. I will actually tell you what the difference is because we don't have too much time. But there we go, is all our waterbuck. So at least we found our waterbuck for you guys this afternoon. You can see they're bright white ring, and these are all boys, and you see they've got horns. So the difference between antlers and horns, very quickly, is that horns are made out of bone, and bone then fuses to the skull, which means it gets attached to the skull and it never comes off. It won't fall off and regrow, whereas an antler is a cartilage and it will fall off every year and regrow every year. Right. Unfortunately, that is all we've got time for this afternoon. I hope that you've had a wonderful time with us and that you enjoyed our Halloween festivities and enjoyed being on a safari in Africa, and I hope that you have a wonderful day further. And so we're going to carry on with our safari. For all of the other viewers, we'll see you just now, but I think before we carry on, we're going to go all the way back to the Masai Mara, I think to Scotty Dyson, who hopefully I think has fixed all of his comms, and we'll see you all a little bit later.
Hello again, everyone. Sorry, I was just expressing how much I can't see without my hat. That really helps with not blinding me. Welcome back, though, and I look forward to answering some of your questions. I hope you've been taking lots of screenshots of how wild and ridiculous we are this afternoon. I think we've outdone ourselves today, I must just say. I also don't know if I've hit a new low. The fact that I'm wearing a lion mask driving around in the middle of the Mara Triangle in Kenya, it's very embarrassing. All the people are laughing at me. They keep saying to me, "Oh, ha, ha, it's going on the web," and I'm like, "Ah, we have a live safari show. I beat you to it." You know, so funny. So yes, so remember always hashtag Safari Live, of course. I think something feels right. I don't know if my ears are straight anymore. But guess where we're going? So we're actually going to go and find my relatives. We're going to head towards where we had some lions this morning, and hopefully we're going to find Scar around there. So that's not too far away. That's down this side. I've got a little bit of a drive to go, and I've got so many people in front of me, and I know they want to all stop and talk to me. It's going to be disastrous. But I said I will wear this from start to finish of game drive, and I am a woman of my word most of the time. Sometimes I say I take things back that I say. Not always, just every now and then. It's very difficult to drive though with this thing on. You can imagine the wind keeps pulling back. It's like a seat belt. Okay, over the little rocky area. Actually, there's some Egyptian geese we can have a quick look at. I'm going to hide away from everyone very, very quickly. But it's at my favorite little lugger where I love to do a bit of birding. We often have Goliath herons, we have African spoonbills, and all sorts of other things that move around in here, including the odd hyena, but no hyenas today. Just some Egyptian geese. Egyptian geese, so you're not frightened of me. I think it's going to start alarming. No, I'm just joking. No, it's not. They are as relaxed as an Egyptian goose could be. They're just feeding on the water's edge, just plucking some of that nice green grass that's just coming through the clay there. So that'll be very tasty. Although that Egyptian goose is giving me the evil eye, isn't it? I wonder if they can see my ears and my mane. Don't think they've ever seen a lion with a crown though. Would be a new experience. Beautiful birds though, lovely colours, and that's as much as I'm going to compliment an Egyptian goose, unfortunately. They're not my favourite ones, and they become super invasive in all different areas throughout Africa. Okay, well let's carry on then. Okay, I think we could be safe. I've let the vehicles pass us. Oh my goodness, the amount of death stares I'm getting. I'm not even used to it. Okay, come on, Mila, let's go. So we're going to go that direction. And we'll check the Mara River. Who knows, maybe there's a nice big crocodile sitting out on its bank. Maybe there's some hippopotamus they're going to play around for us. Who knows what we're going to see out there. But I'm quite excited. We know that those lions were hungry. Hopefully they've just moved closer towards a road that isn't too far away for us to view. It's windy again today, so the camera's going to be a little bit bouncy, especially when we're fully zoomed in. Although, what is everybody stopping for? Hang on. I see cars. Are we going to have to play chat to animal again? Are they all just stopping to have a chat to talk about the lion they've just passed? Or have they actually seen a lion? It looks like they're aimed at a tree, so I presume there's something sitting in the shadows. Let's go check. Oh, this is going to be so terrible. I'm going to have to sit so close to everyone. If it is somebody like Scar, what we might do is we might come back, because it's getting to that point now where everybody is going home. Aaron, all the way from New Zealand, I appreciate your sense of humour today in these tough times. You said, is this the part where Taylor tries to join a pride? I've always wanted to. The lion is my spirit animal, so maybe I'll get out and stalk. Well, what happens if I go in and I steal Scar's ladies away from him because I've got this big beautiful mane? Could be a problem. Actually, I hope we do find Scar, because I want to see if my mane is better than his, because I've got a very big forelock. That's a costume. I don't know if you can use forelock for a lion. I see it. Is a lion leg in the air? It looks like a lion leg in the air. Or have I made that up? No, those are legs. Those are lion legs. It looks like a big lion too. It looks like a very big lion, in fact. I'll try and get a better view. I just don't want to park too close to any cars, as you can imagine, because you're going to hear them laughing at me and I'm embarrassed enough already. Okay, wait. Let's see. I'm just going to pull off the road just a little bit. Who do we have sleeping under this tree? I don't know, because this lion is laying upside down. As you can see, it makes it very difficult to try and identify it. But I do see lots of black hair, lots of black mane. That's amazing. That's a very flexible lion. I don't think I've ever seen a lion so flexible in my life. So I'm not sure who it is just yet. I don't know. If you can tell me that that's Scar from that angle, well done. That's very impressive. That reminds me of Geraldine Kent, who's the producer at Wild Earth. And it reminds me of her and Rebecca, who's also one of the directors, doing yoga outside their rooms. That's exactly what that looks like. Or me after the hike that I did today. That's exactly, actually, Eggsy and I looked like this. We just passed out. We were so exhausted. Very cool, though. Isn't that an interesting position? I mean, you try and tell them, if you've got any new viewers, and we always talk about how hard the life is for a lion, and you see them doing this, it makes it very difficult to try and prove that.
Why did the length of lion's mane vary?
Now, Dos Santos, you're wondering, why does the length of a lion's mane vary from, well, I suppose individual to individual? Well, I asked myself that question. I suppose it's just genetics. Some lions... Sorry, this is now I've got to try and get up. very awkward. It's not a quick process. Some lines, what I was going to say, and I can't look that way because I can't twist around, so you're just going to have to deal with me sitting like this, is it depends with genetics. I mean, I've seen lots of fully grown male lines before with very short sort of tattered manes, and not like mine, not long and wispy like mine. So that's beautiful. Like, for example, Scar and Notch 2, a very good example of lions with very, very long, lovely, wispy manes. Just waving, so embarrassing. And then you get other males that just don't get it. And I suppose it's like some men grow bigger beards than others, and some men can't even grow beards at all. It's all just got to do with genetics, of course. I'm going to look at my monitor again. But there he is, still sleeping. Okay, so at least we know there's a beautiful big male lion here. I suspect that it's Scar. We're right in his turf, or at least one of the other boys in his coalition. That is a very interesting leg. I wonder what he's dreaming about. That is so cool. But I do want to go and have a look at the pride and see what the girls are up to. So we'll probably do that, because he doesn't look like he's going to wake up at all. And to be honest, I don't know if I have any more patience to sit with cats that are fast asleep. But he's out in the open. We know where he is, so he can't escape from us. He can't go too far away. Look at those big paws. No, it doesn't look like a particularly young lion. That's what I can say from just looking at the few scars, his paws, very long mane, very dark, you know. Okay, let's try reposition. Everything, this is the hard part. This is why I don't wear my hair loose on safari, because I can't even get to my earpiece. That's how thick my hair is. Basically, everything is just being eaten by my hair. Can you imagine if I didn't have this on as like an Alice band? It would be a disaster. Okay, let me try to turn around. And now I can't see anything, so I just got to close my eyes and hope that I'm not going to crash. And then reverse, and now we've got everyone watching us. It's terrible. Listen to the laughs as we go past, everyone. You will enjoy it. I won't so much, though. I need to get past these guys. So I just want to find out. Okay, cool. They're saying I can go. So I'm going to very quickly just sneak past. Hello, hello. Sorry. We go past here. Lion 2.0. Actually, we better be careful we don't get into a territorial dispute with this male. He might be intimidated. Though my nails aren't particularly sharp, though. All my teeth. In fact, I can't even bite into an apple properly. I'd be a useless lion. I've just got the mane. I'd just be a runway lion. Coaster, you still there? Because I don't know if I've lost comms now. Because the comms are terrible today. Yes, I feel like I've lost communication with them. Okay, I'm going to try and drive and hold my mask on and also see where I'm going. So I'm going to send you back across to Tristan. He's not on... No, he's not at Chitwa Dam, but he's in Chitwa, driving around.
Well, we're searching because apparently Thamba was seen at some point this morning at around 1 o'clock in this area, and so I'm just checking all the shady spots, trying to see if maybe, just maybe, our young man is somewhere around here and we'll be able to find him. I think he might have gone down towards the dam at that area, so I'm going to try and just have a little look and just see, but maybe he's not in this area. I just heard something on the radio, so let me just check and find out. So I'm just trying to listen and see what's actually happening, because on the radio everyone's talking. Sapi. Now they don't want to talk to me for some reason. Yeah, sorry, can I just find out what's happening with that Ingwe? Copy, thank you very much. Right, so it's just talking about tracks and where to go, and so we're going to hopefully be able to find it. Rexon says he's got tracks his side, which means that hopefully we should be able to find this leopard fairly quickly. Now, I hope all of you are enjoying the Halloween festivities. I can tell you that it is rather warm inside this onesie in the summer heat. I'm not sure even how hot it is, but it feels hot. It definitely feels like I'm cooking a little bit, but I feel like it's worth the sacrifice. The entertaining looks I've had from multiple people that have driven past us already is quite fun in its own right, and I'm quite enjoying the laughter that's coming and the bit of the sort of banter that's been happening between people that have passed me. And on top of that, also just the animals seem to not care at all, even though I look like a giraffe. Now, just now, if we do find this leopard, and once we're done with the leopard, I will do a little fashion show where I'll show you my whole outfit, because this onesie is just absolutely priceless. It's even got a little tail on it, which is just absolutely kills me. And I've also got, on top of the tail, I've also got what every outfit needs. Now, one of the viewers, Ian, who has told me this every time, is that no outfit is complete without a pair of veldskoen. Now, a pair of veldskoen are these bad boys over here. So veldskoen basically translates as a bush shoe, and so this is what a bush shoe looks like. It is, oh, sorry about the bumps, that's my fault. I drove in the wrong place, I'm too busy with my foot up. So a felt shoe is basic, or veldskoen is basically like a leather type shoe with this hardened sole, and pretty much all of us wear them. So from Steph to Scott to myself, James, I think Brent's probably and Jamie are probably the only two that don't have a pair of these, and so no outfit is complete without these. And I reckon Giraffe should invest in a pair of these because, well, not only are they comfortable, but they're quite hard wearing and they do a really good job out in the bush. So there we go, I'm advertising my veldskoen, and that's what I look like, but I'll do the rest later. I've got to just put my foot in because, well, there's people up in front and we don't want to embarrass ourselves any further than what we already have. Now, I plan to do the whole game drive in this onesie and sit in most of the sightings, so it's going to be quite funny either way. John O'Lantern, you want to know what has been my most frightening bush experience, given that it's Halloween. Well, John O'Lantern, my most frightening bush experience has most certainly been when Kruger almost ate me. That is by far the worst that I have seen and the worst that I've had. She charged at me, she growled at me, she hissed at me, and she was no more than, I would say, about a meter from me by the time she stopped charging. And there was sand that was hitting me in the face, and it was all just a horrible experience, and I really did not enjoy it for one bit, to be honest. And so hopefully that never gets repeated. But that's probably my most harrowing story, and it's a long story, and I'll get into it because there's a leopard right there, and that's what we're looking for. So hello Thamba, how are you, boy? So we've just found our little boy, and he's just sitting on the edge of a termite mound having a bit of a sort of relax, and it looks as though he might get going again. It's not too much shade at the moment, although he's tucking his foot underneath, so maybe he will settle down and lie down. But you can see he has digested a little bit from yesterday afternoon. Oh, big yawn. Look at how healthy those teeth are, big and white and clean. Oh, he is such a good looking leopard, and once again, hopefully we're going to have a good afternoon with him. Now, I think it's going to be probably quite a busy sighting, so we might have to roll in and out and kind of do a bit of a stint at the dam and then come back this way. But, well, I'll take a leopard at this stage anyway, and he is still looking around. Now, I wonder if he's going to head down towards the Mulawanini, towards those rocks that we've been talking about. I remember stopping the other day and showing all of you where the rocks are on Chitwa, and that's pretty much the way that he's heading. So if he goes and lies on those rocks, it will be pretty much a dream sighting. I've always wanted to see one, and I discussed it when we saw the rocks the other day, that I'd always wanted to see a leopard on there, and so hopefully that's what's going to happen. Hypothetically, he is heading in the right direction, so it could very well be that situation. How cool is that? What a way to start off our maybe not our afternoon, but to start off with our show. It was a pity that we couldn't show the kids this beautiful leopard, but like I say, at least for us, we are going to be spoilt for the rest of the afternoon with one of the most exquisite leopards we have out here. So I was talking about the story of Kruger earlier, now that he's settled down and we've kind of got him in sight and he's not too far. But it didn't happen very far from here. It was just behind Chitwa Dam wall, and I went in there, and I was at that stage quite a young ranger and a little bit on the cocky side and a little bit brave. And so I went on a bushwalk and I walked behind Chitwa Dam Wall. It was my favorite place to go on a bushwalk. And this morning I showed what it looks like. It is a beautiful oasis type sort of landscape in there, and great for leopard, and you find a lot of leopards in that area. And so went in there and I saw a leopard from the distance on bushwalk, and it was all very exciting, and guests were super excited, and we watched this leopard and it slowly moved away, and I thought, well, that's a fantastic sighting for being on foot. Not many guests will get to see a leopard on foot in their life. And so we left that leopard there and we carried on our way, and we thought we'll come back in the afternoon because we didn't get a great visual. Anyway, we get back in the vehicles back in the afternoon, and we go towards this area, and I see a leopard on, well, we don't find the leopard, sorry, where I was, and so I decide, well, let's get off the vehicle. My tracker and I, we get off our vehicle. We don't take more than 20 paces into the bush, and there we go. We see a leopard straight in front of us, so we think, great, we're going to go grab the vehicle. Everything will be great. Go back, get the vehicle, drive to where we saw the leopard. No leopard, absolutely gone. So we're now puzzling. We then decide, no, let's go around all the way to the other side, because we had to cross one of those drainages to get to the other side. Get to the other side, find there's no leopard there, and so we think, well, let's get off the vehicle and we'll just try and track this leopard and see if we can find which direction it went before we carry on. So I got out and I walked again. It must have been about, I don't know, 100 meters, and I spotted a leopard in the distance that was kind of facing towards me and got up and moved away. So I thought, well, that's okay. So my tracker said, no, you've seen the leopard, you just keep watching it. I'm going to go get my vehicle and I'll come back towards you, and then I'll pick you up and we can just, change places quickly. So I was like, perfect, no problem. So he went off and grabbed the vehicle, and he had to do a big loop to get to where this leopard was. And so I decided, well, while I'm going to watch this leopard, just to keep the view, because the leopard was moving, I'll just go behind a termite mound, and that'll give me a chance to watch where that leopard was walking towards. And the leopard seemed fairly relaxed, so I wasn't too worried about it. So anyway, I walk up towards the mound, and I positioned myself on top of the mound under this big jackalberry, and it was all very pleasant, and I was thoroughly enjoying the fact that I had a bit of time with a leopard by myself. And all of a sudden, the one leopard turned into two leopards, and it was not just Karula by herself. It seemed as though Mvula was there, and they decided to start mating. And so as they started mating, with Karula pushing up into Mvula's face, he eventually then kind of turned, and she turned and saw me straight on the termite mound. And from there, without even hesitation, she came barreling across this drainage line, up the other side, teeth bared, growling, hissing, tail going. There was sand everywhere. I had nothing on me, not even my radio at the time, and I was really quite shy or quite scared about this whole process. And so I then sort of went after, well, tried to back away a little bit, and she kept coming, and it was just a terrible situation. Luckily, my tracker at that stage had heard where I was, and he had heard the leopards growling and carrying on, and he knew that there was something wrong. So he came trying to get in as fast as he could, and he got there and he hit a massive stump. And as he hit the stump, the crunching caused Karula to break her attention from me and then run back towards him. And by that time I was able to get around the termite mound and out to another vehicle very quickly and get onto their vehicle. And then she came barreling back towards me already when I was on the vehicle, hissed and growled at them, and then back towards my tracker and charged that car and growled at them. And I was really perplexed by this behavior, because I'd walked Karula before and she wasn't like that. And eventually what I worked out was, in the process of walking these leopards, I'd walked a different leopard every time, but I'd walked Karula twice out of the 3 times, and she was getting upset now that she kept seeing a person disturbing her. And then on top of that, when we got there, she also, in the tree that was on the termite mound straight above my head, was a carcass, well, in fact 2 carcasses that she had. Maybe she thought that I was trying to rob her carcass, and she came barreling in to protect her kill, and that's why she was aggressive like that. It wasn't because she was an aggressive leopard, it was just that she was trying to protect something, and the mate behavior. It was a horrible experience. Like I say, I definitely took me a while to compose myself again. There was a bit of a shaking of the foot on the pedals at that stage, and I really kind of battled the rest of the drive, and it was really quite tough. But it was a cool experience later, and a funny story, but it was definitely a harrowing experience. The other harrowing experience that is Halloweenish than anything else was lions hunting buffalo in the deep of the night down on the Sabi River. It was dense, it was thick, the lions were stalking through the bush. All of a sudden we heard these buffalo bulls in front of us, and we turned all the lights off so that we didn't get any competition for the lions or any sort of advantage to the lions or the buffalo, and it was completely dark. Next thing, you just heard the lions break cover and run, and it was paws and then hooves going in every direction. And as we were sitting there, we were trying to work out what was going on, trying to strain our ears to listen, and then the hooves went away from us and quite a far distance away, and it sounded as though there was really going to be like nothing that we could do, and we weren't going to be able to keep up with them. All of a sudden though, one of the guys decided to turn on his lights to try and see what was going on, and the buffalo turned and came straight back towards the lights because they could see that there were no lions in that area, and that's why they ran towards the lights. And then all of a sudden the guy decided to turn his lights off again because his tracker shouted at him to stop doing it. And next thing, all we had was just buffalo and lions all around us stampeding, and one buffalo just smashed into the side of one of the Land Rovers. It knocked the tracker off the vehicle right into the path of another lion, and the lions were all around him, and the tracker ran to my car, and he eventually jumped onto the car itself with buffalo and lions running behind him. It was quite freaky to see it all in this kind of shadows of the moonlight. It was really not a pleasant experience. And then we got out the vehicle, and we obviously had to try and get this vehicle fixed and try and get everything done. And we thought the lions had moved off chasing the buffalo because the buffalo that hit the car had carried on running, and we thought everything had gone. And we tried to get the car fixed. I eventually attached a tow rope and tried to drag the car out, and as we finished attaching the tow rope and pulled out, there was the entire Southern Pride, which at that stage was 23 lions just staring at us no more than 5 meters, and we hadn't even noticed them in the complete dark. It was a horrible experience, and the chills that go down your back when you have something like that is pretty scary. So those are my little Halloween stories for today. We're going to try and find some shade because I'm absolutely baking in the sun right now. So let's try and get back towards where Thamba is, and while we do that, I believe Taylor McCurdy, who obviously by dressing up the way that she has some sort of afternoon of the male predator variety.
Others from the big coalition, but I actually don't know the names of the other lions that are in the coalition. They're also called the Musketeers with Scar. So maybe you can help me out. You can let me know by hashtagging Safari Live as to who you think this one is. I think the other one that we saw was Scar then. I think that he's laying flat on his back, so we will go back to him at some point. Again, this big male lion is in the spot where we left the females. So remember how I said I think that there was a male laying amongst the girls? This is obviously him. I can't see the females, so I have absolutely no idea where they've gone. But unfortunately, they're not in an off-roading area, which makes me very, very sad, because it would have been nice to have had lions close up this afternoon. But you never know. We could get some more. There's so many around here. But he does look very, very regal with the wind blowing through his mane at the moment. I need to learn how to tease my hair like a mane, like a lion does. I don't know if it's the product that they use. Perhaps they use a specific type of comb. I don't know. But he seems to have done it a lot better. Or maybe I shouldn't wash my hair for 3 weeks. That would probably work quite well too. He's a beautiful boy though. He doesn't look like he's waking up just yet. He's just got his head up. You know, falling asleep every now and then. Flies are really annoying him, so I think that's actually why he sat up and shuffled around slightly. It's because of the biting midges that keep attacking him. But he'll get there eventually. They will stop biting him because the sun is going to go down soon, and then you won't have to worry about that. But you can hear the wind whistling at the moment. It's very eerie. It's very fitting for Halloween. Really lovely though. Trying to think if I've ever seen this male before. He's got left ears actually is very, 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 I don't know what I'm trying to say. It's very tattered. Now, I believe Tristan is telling horror stories. Tristan, you're talking about your scariest encounters. Yeah, there he bites the flies. I'm going to think of mine. I'm going to think of a different one. We've all had so many in the bush. And I've told you most of mine. Obviously, my scariest encounter I think I've ever had is the near-death buffalo experience. I faced... Sorry, let me do what a lion does. To get my mane out of my face. I'm not going to pull my mane forward. So that's probably my worst experience I've ever had, was being so close to a buffalo, and an angry buffalo during the peak of a drought and on foot. That was not fun. I was really petrified. It was a very dangerous experience. We laugh about it now because I'm safe and I'm fine, but at the time it most certainly was not funny. And James, I think, knew it wasn't funny because of the words that I was shouting as I was running towards him. We're going to leave this line because I want to find the rest. He's so far away. Scar, if it is Scar, is much closer. So what we'll do is we'll do the scenic way around and go back there, and hopefully By the time we get back to him, either some lionesses have appeared or he's woken up. Hopefully all of the above, actually, if I can be greedy. Do you remember the sighting that we had this time last year? It was the most incredible lion sighting I've ever had. It's definitely a top 5 lion sighting because it was the Ngahumas. Now you can't even see this in my head, so anyway. It was the young Ngahuma cubs being taught how to take down buffalo calves. That was incredible. So I think you should all dig through your archives, because I know you do, and share some of those memories with us. Remember to hashtag Star It Out. I don't think I will ever see anything like that again. I think that was also not maybe a once in a lifetime experience. I lied. I think I could see it again, not, anytime soon. But and so still till this day, I've never seen lions taking down anything, or the adults sitting around just sort of supervising and helping out where need be. I don't like this road that we're on. It's very windy, so I'm just going to face forward in my main This is so much. I'm in desperate need of a haircut. That's what I'm in need of. I wouldn't let Brent touch my hair with the scissors or a 10-foot pole. Wouldn't let anybody near my hair unless they're a trained professional. I'm not brave enough. Right, so we're going to keep bumbling about. We're going to get round to Scar. We should get there in the next couple of minutes, maybe 5 to 10 minutes or so, depending on what we see. Scott has finally come back from the deep dark corners of the triangle. Let's go find out where he's been.
Whoops! I got myself seriously lost whilst daydreaming through this beautiful scenery, and we ended up in a very low signal area with terrible roads. We've been driving as fast as we can to get back into signal, which we have finally done. And now we can slow the pace down and enjoy some of the critters along the way, one of which is running down the road in front of us. Isn't that pretty? Hello. Now, usually these lapwings are in pairs, so I'm quite surprised that we can't see the other one. Maybe, who knows, it's sitting on the eggs, because a lot of the birds are nesting now, as are the ostriches, which we learnt yesterday as when lioness was walking around with an ostrich egg in its mouth. Very good. So the area that we're in now does have, or it has provided us some good value with lions. So I'm hoping we manage to find some lions along this road. During the migration, I remember spending quite a few nights in and around this area. More towards where we're going is usually where the lions camp out, in and around some gardenia bushes, or at least that was their trend a couple of months ago. I haven't spent a huge deal of time here since then, so it's good to be back. It's an incredibly beautiful area, but it must be said there has not been much game around, which I find fascinating because there's lots of fresh, lush grass, yet you drive for huge distances without seeing anything, which I'm quite surprised by. But I guess that makes sense because it allows the grass to rejuvenate while the massive migrating herds are away, and it allows them something to look forward to when they get back. Very good. Something else to look forward to, not for the migrating herds, but for you, is Tristan and Thamba.
Well, our beautiful boy is sitting on a mound and he's busy watching some impalas. There's a few impalas that are not too far from us at the moment, and he's just kind of watching them from the shade of this termite mound. Now, I think he might try and hunt them eventually, but for now it's more about just trying to get himself stable. He's kind of sliding down the mound a little bit. The other bit of exciting news is that I just had a woodland kingfisher fly over me, so it is around here. I'm trying desperately to find it on one of the trees so that I can show all of you, but there is a woodland kingfisher somewhere near us flying about all over the show, so that's definitely super exciting, and I don't know who wins the bet. Actually, I'm not 100% sure, but there is a woodland kingfisher somewhere here, so we'll have to get on camera before the bet can be won. But it means that if there's one, soon lots will be around. The other bit of interesting news I've got is that there is a bird that I'm pretty sure we have never shown on Safari Live that is somewhere near Chitwa Dam. I did see it this morning, and I wasn't 100% sure when I saw it fly out this morning, and we couldn't get it on camera quick enough, but I'm going to go back into that area and try and just get lucky and see if we can find it. So it's a mystery bird. I will tell you about it a little bit later once we leave the Thamba sighting in late afternoon. Hopefully the bird will be out around late afternoon. But is he just not the most magnificent leopard? He's got the most incredible markings, and every time I see him I kind of, I always comment on it, but he really is a lot darker than a number of other leopards in terms of his markings around his eyes. He almost looks as though he's kind of got this eye shadow, and that coupled with those bright kind of green eyes means he's incredibly striking. He's a beautiful individual and certainly one of my absolute favorites. So I'm glad we're getting to see him, and I'm glad it's been 2 days in a row. And like I was saying yesterday afternoon, if he's seen somewhere, if you follow up on him and you carry on looking for him, generally you can find him in a very close proximity. And we are, I don't even think, maybe 400 meters from where we had him yesterday afternoon. So he's not far, and he will continue to kind of be in these areas. Oh, but look at that, he's just looking straight at me. I'm sure he's a bit confused by my appearance. Adele, you're asking, as leopards get older, do they get smaller? Now, it depends on how old we're talking. So as they go from youngish leopards like Thamba and they go into dominant individuals, then no, their territories are growing. But once they go from a sort of an 11, 12, 13-year-old female, let's say, or male, yes, then their territories start to get smaller and smaller and smaller. If we take Mvula is a great example of this. He was, when he was a dominant male, was dominant from Mala Mala, Sand River side, all the way into Manyeleti, from Nkoro all the way until Arathusa. That was this sort of the width and length of Mvula's territory. It was massive. And then what happened is slowly over time he got older, and so slowly but surely other males eroded his territory away, and now we see that he's pretty much restricted to the northwestern section of Buffelshoek, a little bit of Manyeleti, and he goes a bit into Simambili and Djuma, and that's really about it. So his territory has been eroded down massively by all the other male leopards that we have in this area. So yes, they do lose territory as they get older. Also with a female, often you'll find that the cub for that particular individual will often have a little section of its mother's territory to start. They almost glean a section from mom. Mom drops them off close to her boundary, and she takes a little bit, and so as the female gets older and has more and more daughters, so often her territory will shrink down into the core part, and then you'll find a situation where as she gets really old, some of those daughters that have been established and are quite physical and big and have really kind of done well, they'll start to then slowly push that female out and take over their natal territory, much like what we're seeing with Thandi and Shadow. Of course, they didn't push Kruger out, but they still have taken over their mom's territory and headed back into their natal area where they were born and where they spent their sort of early formative years. So it does happen from time to time. Shame boy, you're a bit tired. I don't know if he knows what to make of me. He keeps kind of staring at me as though I'm a bit odd. I think he's a bit kind of perplexed by this bright colored object that is sitting in a car, and he kind of is watching the impalas over my shoulder. I suppose it doesn't help that there's a whole bunch of impalas behind me, kind of giving me the little bit of the evil eye, the stink eye, so to speak, as he kind of watches me. But he is starting to fall asleep a bit now. Steve Candrell, you're asking, do I feel like my camouflage is working for me this afternoon? I feel like yes, at a distance, but at close proximity, no. I feel like I've been caught out, I've been seen, I've been laughed at, I've been pointed at, I've been photographed. So no, not really now at this situation, but from a distance, yes, I feel like I blend in quite well from a distance. Also, if I ditch this hunking great vehicle that I have, I feel like I stand a better chance of camouflaging and blending in with my environment. Right now, the vehicle really gives me away, and my camouflage is not working well for me now. Also, I'm very close to this leopard, and so he spotted me, as have many of the other predators that are around currently. There's a number of other predators with cameras, and they've spotted me and they've taken many a photo. So I feel like a little bit like a celebrity after winning an Oscar award at the moment, but it's all good. It's all in the name of a bit of fun, and hopefully everyone's having a good time with it. Hopefully Thamba also doesn't decide to eat me, because that would also be a tragic end to our Halloween fun. Death by leopard is not the way I want to go. I feel like it's not going to be the most pleasant way to be ended, or to end one's life. feel like it might hurt a little bit, so let's rather avoid that at all costs. But he's definitely kind of intrigued by this costume that I have on, and if only he could see my legs, he would be so much more impressed if he could see my fellies as my hooves and my little sort of onesie that goes down. And if he saw my tail, I think that would be just the absolute business. The guys behind me might be able to see my tail. I'll have to flick it out for them and show them just now, and so that they can also have a little look just to see what's going on. But how cool is that? He's a beautiful leopard. Tula Ann and Tucker. Now Tula Ann says, "Oh my word, Tristan, my costume is absolutely amazing," and she loves it because giraffes are her favorite, and that she's decided to dress up for Halloween as Hosanna, and that Tucker is going to be dressed up as Thandi. Now, I'm sure the two of you are going to be looking very cute. Now, Tula Ann, what you need to do for me is you need to take a photograph of the two of you, and then you need to send it to us so that I can see how you look in your Halloween costume. If you're going to dress up like leopards that we know from this area, I want to see how you look, and so it'll be very cute to see you guys in your Halloween outfit. And I'm glad you like my giraffe costume. I think Thamba likes my giraffe costume, and so do many others. There's a guy behind me that's been laughing at me non-stop, and it's Peter. Hello, Peter. So Peter's busy filming me now as well. So I'm being filmed on 2 different cameras at this stage. But anyway, I'm glad you enjoy it, Tula Ann, and I'm glad that it's brought you some joy, and that giraffes are your favorite. Hopefully we'll be able to find some giraffes for you at some point. I really am quite interested to see what would happen if I got out the vehicle and walked towards giraffe. Would they actually get perplexed by me? Would they look at me? Would they run away? I'm not quite sure, but maybe we'll find out a little bit later. Hopefully we'll find some giraffes somewhere that we can kind of test the theory. Of course, I think my little ossicones on top here won't really help. They're a bit flimsy at the moment, so you can see I've got a flimsy ossicone, but it can wave a little bit. I feel like I could do a little flick with it. I'm a newborn giraffe, exactly. My ossicones haven't set yet. They haven't fused to my skull yet. And you can see I've got quite big eyes for my age. Actually, I'm pointing the wrong way. I was pointing towards my ear, but my eyes are forward. So I've got quite big eyes there. And I'm not sure about the snout. This is all very kind of odd to me, but the snout is a little bit on the light side. So hopefully we'll darken that up at some point. Now, Pooji's outfit, shame Pooji fell off the dashboard just now, but Pooji, who is Dracula Pooji this afternoon, is, you can see, he's got a very nice little cape that I built for him. He likes to have the cape because it protects him from the sun, particularly in the late afternoons when the sun is raging in Africa. You can also see Pooji's just had a fresh kill. Tamba's a bit jealous because Tamba's looking at Pooji's teeth and seeing there's a bit of blood there. So Pooji managed to feed recently, and he was the little Dracula kind of thing with his big white eyes, and that's why he's got such wide eyes this afternoon, is because he had a good feed and he's feeling a little bit electrified by life. And then he's got his little webbed pattern apron on the back, and so there we go. That's the backside of Pooji. And there we go, Pooji. You've never shown your backside. This is a big step for Pooji. He doesn't really like to show his backside. He's a bit shy about it. He feels like it looks a bit big in his cape, but he's now decided that this is where the time, given that it's Halloween and we're all having a bit of fun, to be able to show it. Now Thamba is up and moving. He's decided he's going to start walking around, and I don't know if he's really sure about what I look like. He kind of keeps looking at me as though I'm a very odd animal. Hopefully he doesn't decide to jump onto the car. I don't think he will, though. You can see he's striding off now, so he's not too perplexed by all of this, and he's slowly but surely going down towards these impalas. So it's going to be really interesting to see how he does it. There's nice cover for him, a lot of thickets here that he can use to be able to stalk closer and get nice and near to these impalas, and hopefully there will be a situation where he can get in nice and close and be able to actually stalk them. It would be wonderful to watch him going for a hunt. But there we go, you can see he's just walking between the vehicles. It's amazing how much more relaxed he is than what he was a few months ago, or a few years, well, a year ago, let's call it, when he was still a little cub. He was absolutely petrified of everywhere. He's still a little nervous of the trackers and walking underneath them, but look how he's gotten down. He's doing his typical little leopard crawl now. So I love when leopards do this. This is my absolute favorite. Look at how he's down. You see how he's got that specialized collarbone. It's basically, it floats and he allows his whole body to sink, and he can then get down and his bones can come up, his collarbones, and he can walk basically on his tummy. It's an amazing thing to watch, and we were super lucky to watch Hasana do it the other day, and it seems Thamba is going to do it for us as well. So that's how they get closer, is that they do this little leopard crawl and they get right up underneath the impala, and he has to get much closer than what he is now because they're not like cheetah in that they have the speed. These guys are much slower, and so they are ambush predators. They have to work their way nice and close to be able to then launch from there and grab what they need. So hopefully he's going to be able to keep stalking and keep moving in the direction that he needs to do it. Also, the other problem that the other things that he has to kind of keep in mind while he's stalking is that there's the sun and there is wind. Now, sun is a great thing for a leopard. If he can get the sun behind him, which is exactly what he's done, these impalas are having to look into the sun to be able to spot him. That coupled with the fact that the wind is coming from the east, so it's coming from the impala towards him. He's got everything in his favor in order to do a proper stalk. And this is how leopards learn, is that they'll watch their moms will teach them, and they'll learn all the conditions that they need to use in order to be successful. Now, I think that's just a log sense. I think the impalas have drifted off a little bit more to the right. They're just in the background there, behind all of that thick stuff. There they are. You can just see them feeding in there. Right, we're going to sit with Thamba a little bit longer, just see where he ends up and where these carries on stalking and heading towards the impalas. Of course, if he does get close, I'm sure we'll be back here in a jiffy. But while we do that, let's go back to Scotty, who's got some luck of his own this afternoon.